Right. Thank you very much, and welcome to another episode of The Legends. So this evening, I've got a great legend, somebody that I've known a few years, very tenacious woman, like Karen Swanepoel. So welcome, Karen.
Thank you, David. Good day, everybody.
Yeah. All right. So who is Karen? Let's start there.
Thanks, David, for this opportunity. Yes, I have actually been a teacher most of my life. That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to work with people and I wanted to teach biology. I love nature. I grew up in a family who really taught us appreciation of nature. And very soon I realized that being born in the city of Pretoria, growing up in Germiston between the railway lines and the mine dumps, there's something more to life than that. So during my teaching career, I realized I wanted to do something that I have a passion for and bring it out. And that actually came from my grandmother, who was very fond of plants, always taking plants here and planting them there. And I remember very well, I was a little girl and we had a huge fern in our lounge. And one day I saw there's something strange coming up in the fern. And then my mom said, it is my grandmother who planted a passion fruit seed in the fern. And that's actually where I got this. Oh, you can plant things and you can make things happen with plants around you.
Yeah. So you say you were born in Pretoria. Whereabouts in Pretoria?
Yes, I was born in Pretoria, in the eastern side of Pretoria. And when we were three children, and when my youngest brother were born, my mom and dad moved to the East Rand, and that's where I started school. And in Boksburg, then moved to Germiston, where I matriculated.
Oh, okay. That's great. So your love for plants started much early. It's a lot like me, right? I'm a plant person. I love biology.
I think you get it.
Yeah. So once you left teaching, is that when you actually started taking plant hunting and all of that as a career?
Interesting enough, I enjoyed every minute of my teaching life, teaching biology. And I lectured later for teachers training colleges. And I realized that, there's a lifespan, there's almost a shelf life for everything. And I wanted to move on and I wanted to continue my research. By then, my children were born. It's a twin and they were 10 weeks born prematurely, allergic to almost anything on this planet Earth. And I had to rely on natural remedies to see if I can get these two children to be more healthy. And I also realized then that there's really a shortage of good natural products. So that's when that came to why I researched making a crop of natural products so that we can have more and we can have a hand on the quality. We don't have to import expensive natural products while we have all this wealth of biodiversity around us. And it really triggered, what I grew up with, what I love, and my current situation. I wanted to continue with research. At that time, we moved to Mpumalanga, and I was a lecturer at the Lowveld College of Agriculture, where I started my serious research. I wanted to make a crop of all the medicinal plants I saw the people in the streets were selling, and was really worried, what if all of this is now going to be finished? And if you can remember, it was also in the time where HIV and AIDS were very prevalent and people relied heavily on wild harvesting. So that really started it. I caused quite a stir at the Lowveld College of Agriculture where I was lecturing, because I wanted to grow medicinal plants and I wanted to grow it organically and I wanted to include it in the syllabus. And it wasn't done. My colleagues said to me, you better go and see a doctor. There's something wrong with you. In those years, there was no such a thing as organic practices. And who's growing medicinal plants as a crop? You just go into the wild and you harvest it. So
Yeah.
it came a long way. Yeah.
Yeah. And so just going back to your kids, what were some of the plants that you used for them then? And how old are they now?
They
How
are now, I'm a grandmother now. So they will be,
Wow, okay. And they're not allergic anymore.
no, not, I've got grandchildren now. So things have,
Oh,
have really moved on.
yes.
I used what we then had, in our garden. I always had herbs in the garden. For
Mm-hmm.
example, my daughter was building up a fever very quickly, and sometimes there's nothing that I could give to her that she wasn't reacting to. So I used yarrow, I used rue, I used rosemary, all the classics,
Okay.
lavender, for
Yes.
both of us, so that we
Mm-hmm.
could sleep at night. And then
Yeah.
also, I realized that, going to the pharmacy, sometimes I look at you with strange eyes. Why don't you just want to buy medicine? And I said,
Mm.
but I want to buy medicine. I just want natural medicine, and
That
without
wasn't it.
preservatives, without
Yeah.
colorants,
Yeah.
that could be
That's the way.
effective. Yeah.
Okay. Right. And then so once you started thinking about at this college now, you're starting to think about what medicinal plants to look at. What were these medicinal plants that captured your imagination?
Well, I did my postgraduate in I can say the cultivation and propagation and processing of
Mhm.
African potato, the hypoxis.
Oh
That's
yeah,
where
okay. Yeah.
Yes, that's where
Yeah.
there's donkeys years ago.
Yeah.
And then very soon, I had a knock on the door, and people said to me, you know what, we need to also look at essential oils. That's
Mm.
the value adding part of the medicinal plants and aromatic plants. So I
Yeah.
started at the Lowveld College of Agriculture while my colleagues were planting citrus and all kinds of other crops. Mangoes were there, and
Mhm.
some did, some were real experts in vegetables and
Yeah.
cotton and tobacco all those times. Now I
Mm.
started the crops for rose geranium. I
Yes.
then worked also with the CSIR to see how the best way of getting most of a hectare of a plant, making sure you build up quality and quantity.
Yes.
And that's where my real, I can say, serious research started.
Yeah, and
By
then your
making
passion as
this.
well. Yeah, because I mean, when I met you, you were the essential oils lady. You still are the essential oils lady. Yeah. So yeah. So maybe tell us a little bit about essential oils, like for those people that don't know what they are and what their uses are.
Essential oils is really a very old practice. I think Africa has got a lot of knowledge in medicinal plants, but we didn't really make a lot of oils. It actually came from Asia, but we
Mhm.
caught on very quickly, and I think we can do a little bit more. That's the way you harvest the plant. You
Mhm.
can either distill it if it's an aromatic plant. You distill it. That's a process of distillation, and then
Mhm.
you separate the distillate. You have your water as a byproduct coming off, and you separate the oil from that, and that can be stored. That's got a shelf life, so you can
Yeah.
store that. So
Mhm.
very quickly, we also realized if you want to make this a profitable crop or a feasible practice, you've got to do quality control, and that's where the other angle came in. My really drive in my passion was to add a quality certification, because if you haven't got quality added to your product, you can't negotiate a good price. So
Yeah.
we had no clue at that stage. It was a highly secretive industry. You
Mhm.
you got cold shoulders and closed doors, and you were fingered sometimes, because you are scratching in this world of essential oils where there's only few people that's supposed to
Mhm.
know and do it. And I
Yeah.
wanted to open it up. I wanted to make it, as I said, part of a syllabus.
Yeah.
It's the value adding end of the medicinal plants. And since I started that, we realized that every plant has got its own properties, that's got its own almost a way of, of extraction. Some needs to be pressed, cold pressed, especially seeds like marula and baobab and Kalahari melon. Beautiful, beautiful carrier oils. That goes through another process. That's cold processing. And other plants are very delicate and very fragile. You can't put any heat to it. It's got to come through alcohol extraction or some other method. So there's quite a lot of different methods you can apply to get the active ingredients out of the plant. And I wanted to make it sustainable so that we, don't just finish nature with something that we now need for our current situation.
And that's interesting, right? So essential oils are the volatile oils, and those are used in toothpaste. They are used as perfumes. So it's a huge market. What's the size of the essential oils market globally?
David, it's good to see what happened when I came into the industry. There was real demand for it. It is now escalated. We are not only making perfumes anymore. We are putting it into natural flavorants. In the veterinary industry, we are using essential oils for that. Aromatherapy for this stage, for example, is growing extremely fast, and that's where you need high quality oil. And South Africa is not really strong on the big volumes of oils, so we are almost getting into the bigger picture. But I'm proud to say South Africa has passed Australia with the production of tea tree oil and eucalyptus and macadamia oil. Yes, so
where
we
are we
do
growing
very
tea
well.
trees then? Where are those being grown?
And macadamias now can be grown in all the provinces almost, where it is actually originally from Australia. South Africa is really doing very, very, very well with that. And then we're also making oils from weeds these days, like the most common one, taget, kakibos, we call it in Afrikaans, or blackjack, we also call that.
Yeah,
it's a weed.
Tagetes minuta,
it very well.
So,
I'm just saying, the demand is growing so fast. It's growing at 25% per year, the demand. And the supply is not touching that because it's going on in such a variety of applications, from room freshers. Everybody wants to go natural. And the only way to do that is to increase supply.
Yeah, and food flavorings, shampoos, pretty much anything, domestic, right, that you use has to have some essential oils. And I guess the beauty of essential oils is you're not really cutting down trees. You're using weeds, things that will regenerate next year, or you're using parts of plants that really don't kill the
exactly.
plant. Okay.
Yes, exactly. There's a lot of work done on sustainable harvesting. Sometimes you don't have another option, but you go wild harvesting. But that's not the only way, and that's been my dream, so that we can supply good quality, all the time, and improve on the crops.